Lesson 6, Service Provider Failures. Hello, I'm Hugh Edwards. Welcome to the 6th video in this Minimizing Your Downtime 7-part course. In this video, I'm covering service provider failures. The internet has given us business owners so many incredible tools to run our businesses. But like we always say, the internet is our biggest asset and our biggest risk. Website downtime is not just costly, sometimes it can be downright frustrating, especially if the circumstances are totally out of your control, like when we experience downtime due to a service provider failure. For e-commerce stores, that's usually either your hosting service, the e-commerce platform that you use, or any plugins or apps that you use alongside these platforms, failing in some way and causing an outage of your online store. Let's start with hosting. You're probably using a hosting service if you have built your e-commerce store yourself, as most e-commerce platforms include hosting. The thing with hosting is that not all are built equally. You may have noticed that some hosting is very cheap, while some are relatively expensive. Generally speaking, the cost is an indicator of quality based on the type of hosting. For example, you can have shared hosting where several websites share the same server. This is fine up to a point. Some cheap hosting services will allow too many websites on one server, which means the server can become overcrowded and prone to outages. If you have to think of this in terms of traffic surges, let's say you run a Cyber Monday sale and are suddenly hit with a lot of traffic. If it becomes too much for your server, your site goes down right when you stand to make a good chunk of revenue. Your site can also be impacted by surges of traffic going to other sites on the server, a phenomenon known as the bad neighbor effect. There are other hosting options, including dedicated servers, which you'll pay more for. While this gives you more security in terms of protecting against traffic surge downtime, you still have to be careful with what you choose. Sometimes the server technology is the culprit that can take a site down. With regard to e-commerce platforms, almost anything could occur that result in a service provider failure. Popular e-commerce platforms include Shopify, BigCommerce, Magento, WooCommerce, Wix, Squarespace, and WordPress. Maybe their servers fail, or maybe something in the technology fails that cripples your site. Whatever the case, you are unable to make sales while possibly still paying costs to run your business. Even if you have a blog and you make money from AdSense, if your site goes down, you're not making the revenue you're expecting to make. Now, when it comes to apps and plugins, their integration in your site or e-commerce platform puts you at risk if they experience a failure. Also, if your service provider experiences an error due to one of their service providers, then you're also at risk. Don't get us wrong. We're so grateful that we have all of these apps and tools to empower our business. But you need to understand the domino house of cards effects here. In fact, only a few weeks ago, here I think in early July 2020, we saw Cloudflare have basically a content delivery network have an outage, which had a big knock-on effect on Shopify. And that was not Shopify's fault themselves. And so you see here this sort of house of card effect can have a significant domino impact. You obviously can't prevent someone else's technology failure, but you can take some steps to protect yourself. 1, know the SLA, also known as Service Level Agreement, for your providers. You want guaranteed uptime on hosting, and you want to know what e-commerce platforms will do about outages. 2, know what the service provider's promise is if they go down. Will it adequately compensate you? 3, call your service provider first before making any changes on your end. For example, you may want to check on whether certain integrations are compatible. 4, be picky about who you choose. Do they have a good reputation? What sort of technology do they have behind them? How stringent are their security protocols? Do they have a proven track record of reliability? Sometimes it's really not worth trying to save a few dollars by going cheap. In fact, doing so could cost you more in the long run. Another point here is that if you want to get cyber insurance, the company will assess your risk based on evidence of the technology choices that you make. They are interested in your probability of downtime when they make the decision to cover or not. Poor choice can mean no insurance. And 5, be communicative with your customers in the event of any outage, such as by posting to social media. If people can see that you're actively working on getting your site back up, they may be more inclined to come back later. Lastly, just as we said previously, cyber insurance exists for these kinds of scenarios too. Protect your revenue risk from downtime with a good policy. Just remember, look at the fine print and really make sure you understand what's included and excluded. Thanks again from the team here at Cyber Fortress.